Welcome back to Linux Weekly, Daily Wednesdays, where we're going to sit back, relax for that midweek break of talking about the Linux stuff that we've found interesting in this week. No exception because Xfce 4.14, check it out, man. It is almost ready, but unfortunately by almost, you got to think more Valve time than anything else. And streaming from a Raspberry just got wicked easy. Yes, wicked easy, because you no longer have to compile FFmpeg. You just got to enjoy just a little bit of docking.
There's a decentralized internet in the works, and with it comes Schrodinger's browser, and KDE 5.10 breaks basic functionality. More news at 11. Nothing like a good old version mismatch to bring me back to Mott or Mate, or however you want to say it.
You're about to witness an event that only happens a few times in a lifetime, because Debian is about to drop a new release. And we've talked a lot about universal packages like Flatpak, Snaps. Now let's discuss what you should and shouldn't expect from them.
Sounds like fun, lads. Let's just get right into this because Gmail notifications are in GNOME.
In GNOME, yeah, specifically GNOME Shell. It's a new extension to show your how many emails you have in your Gmail accounts. If you are using the web client, that is. It does remind me of an old widget that was around in 2009. It was called Gmail Notify.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically
There
the
were
same
a bunch
thing.
of them, even for those docs.
Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. It will pop up notifications for your emails, for your Gmail messages. This is something you shouldn't be needing if you were using an actual email client.
As you should be.
Okay, help me out with this, Pedro. What defines... Now, I use Thunderbird. So,
Yes.
I use Thunderbird, and admittedly, I normally keep desktop notifications off because they're kind of annoying when you're in the middle of doing something. Mm-hmm. But it recently updated, and they're back on, which I don't mind, plus the billions of tablets in my house, because it is totally Deep Space Nine in this business with all the tablets laying around. Why? Okay, let's back up a second. Why do you even, what's a not real email client? Very good Englishing, this starting off.
This is not an email client. This is just a notification client. It's something you can put on your panel that when you click on it, you'll get, oh, look, you have new emails. Here's the sending address or the person that you have in your that sent you the email, and the subject line. That's it.
Yeah, I assume.
So,
yeah, I assume that when you click on the notification, it will open a browser on gmail.com and show you the message.
that would be a safe assumption to make, but this is GNOME we're talking about, so whether or not you get that functionality or you need even yet another extension to do it, well, that's anyone's guess. Now, on my end, I have disabled Thunderbird's desktop notifications since the Mate dock. When I have the Thunderbird itself just minimized to the tray, I use a little extension that minimizes to the tray. And whenever I get a new email, I just get a little 1 and then a 2 and so on and so forth, a little indicator icon on top of the launcher to tell me how many new emails I have. That's all I need.
Ultimately, I think at the end of the day, I just pull down the notifications menu on a tablet or just my mobile and go, maybe I'll ignore that like the other 15,000 that are waiting for me. So, Linux Universal Packages. Let's have a nice, calm, civil discussion about this.
Well, we can try, but no promises. So, the news stack gave us a little article on what to expect and not expect from the Linux Universal Packages. And it's a pretty big article, and they explain the limitations of containers. They explain like the policies, the different policies in containers versus the technology they're using, and how those compare to deb files or even RVM files or even the other universal containers like Flatpak and app images. They also discuss how each individual distro is handling snaps and flats specifically, like who's taking what. And we already know that since Flatpaks are kind of a Red Hat thing, it's all being included in most of the upstream kernel, but since Canonical doesn't really contribute upstream, well, we know exactly where snaps are. Even though a lot of distros have enabled support for snaps, it's still very much spotty support at this point.
No, I can definitely see your argument in this, but you have snaps. I think snaps are going to propagate with Debian-based systems, while Flatpaks will do the same with Fedora-based systems, right?
That
I
looks
would
like.
disagree on that. I would disagree on that because this is not. Snaps are from Canonical. Flatpaks are from Red Hat. But beside that, Flatpaks are really integrated in all the GNOME stuff. And snaps, well, they were a thing with Ubuntu Touch, but now Ubuntu Touch is no more. I think they're trying to make Snap a thing in the server space and in the IoT space rather than the desktop.
I fully understand that, but that's kind of where I wish you were right. But Pedro, that's not going to be the case. It's not going to be the case.
No, it's not. And you can see every time you hear something about snaps, it's because, oh, look, Cody just got a new snap. Or Atom, the Electron text editor, just got bundled into a snap. It's Electron inside a snap. It's wrap reception. But it's this article. It actually goes through many of the complaints that people have. And honestly, the more we talk about this, the more likely it is that this is just going to devolve into the merits of Flatpaks over snaps, over devs, and over RPMs. And the author of the article actually makes up a good point, because whenever the discussion of snaps versus Flatpaks is brought up, it's in no way different than devs versus RPMs, which in a way is ironic when you think that both snaps and Flatpaks were created with the intent of maybe ameliorating the whole Linux fragmentation, big air quotes around that, thing that we've been experiencing over these past few years. And I can hear Martin Wimpress shouting at me right now saying, seeing as he's currently working with Snapcraft, just about how I don't get snaps at all. And honestly, I don't get snaps. I don't get what their use is right now. I just don't.
The use is to be able to reliably install software, whatever whatever versions you have installed of libraries, whatever you have currently installed.
App Images already did that. But again, this is exactly what I meant. Now, instead of Canonical and Ubuntu with Red Hat or Fedora just coming together and creating de facto universal package system for Linux to combat said quote-unquote fragmentation. No, they're just going to keep doing their own stuff. And I mean, good on Red Hat. At least they made flats available upstream and everything is very well integrated with the rest of the Linux ecosystem as it currently stands, which is something Canonical has failed to do over and over again. So I don't honestly see the point.
No, I mean, what we need at the end of the day, Ike, I'm talking to you, man. We need a third competing one that will help unify it. And yeah, man, I want to see that in Solus. It'll be brilliant. But really, this is just, it's good that these conversations are happening. But, in the real world, the only people I've seen really pushing, the flat snap pack images, whatever you want to call it, are the people currently working on them, and rightfully so. That's their business. But I am almost willing to bet, take that Pepsi challenge, I mean, by this time next year, we're still going to be having the same arguments with basically little to no real progress and adoption being made. I hope I'm wrong, but we'll see. Okay.
This is not only the people who make snaps who push them. I mean, we've seen Inkscape, for example, deliver snap packages, but there's something very interesting in the article from Josh Triplets. So he's a Debian maintainer. And he makes a very good point. It's that the whole Snap and Flatpak ecosystem will have no quality control because that's the point of a distributions like Debian or Fedora. They have these guidelines that say, okay, in order to get into the distribution, you have to follow these rules and package your software in a specific way. And with those like universal packages, there's no such rule. It's the jungle. I mean, there might be some guidelines, but no one will be there to enforce them. So what we could expect from this is that it will be like the current state of like when you download individual deb files like Chrome or Skype, but it will be generalized to everything. So maybe
that's a
not
good idea.
Maybe not the best thing to happen. I don't know.
Maybe, maybe not. And maybe you can install them on your up-to-date copy of Debian.
Yes, so this is a very rare events. Last release from Debian was more than 2 years ago. So this is Debian 9. It will be the release is planned for June 17th, and I mean there's not a lot of bugs left. It should be ready by then. They have decided not to ship with secure boots, which will be postponed in a future updates, just in order to get this release out. I mean, that's good. I mean, if you've used Debian lately, you've most likely used it. I mean, if you've used testing, then all the software in Debian, like Debian 9, is pretty much already deprecated, but you should be used to that by now. And
that's the reason we
great.
call it Debian stale.
Yes. The one question I have about Debian is, since SteamOS is based on Debian stable, how long will Valve take in order to port SteamOS to Debian 9?
Valve time. Seriously, why would you need to ask that question? That's just Valve time.
I can definitely see it taking that long, and I'm pretty sure that Matthew has recurring nightmares where he's forced to run Debian stable. That's sounds horrifying to the poor boy. But hey, man, do you want a decentralized, encrypted kind of tokenized internet browsing? No, but guess what? They made one anyway.
Oh, yeah. So this story comes from CoinDesk, which they have a little disclaimer at the bottom of the article saying that they are a subsidiary of Digital Currency Group, which has an ownership stake in Blockstack, which are the people developing the tokenized, decentralized internet browser. Now, honestly, I read through this over and over and again, and all I saw were buzzwords and buzzwords and more buzzwords. I could sort of make out what they were trying to do. In fact, I've seen some of this. It's usually for, let's say if you go to a local video store and you rent out a movie. Yeah, you know what I'm saying there? There are actually many decentralized networks that allow you to do just that. But these guys are actually trying to bring that into the internet in general. And I can see the point in doing that, because in an age where internet freedom and net neutrality are always under constant fire, decentralizing everything is not just a good idea in ideological terms, but also in a practical sense. The problem with the practicality and the feasibility of that is the internet, quote unquote. There's no way that you're going to convince the ISPs, the main registrars, and everyone else to just fork over everything for it to be blockchained. You can't do it. There's just no way in hell they will give you that much control over their stuff. What they see is their stuff. So the only way to do it is the old-fashioned way, and basically creating Schrodinger's internet, which may or may not work at any given point. So until we know whether or not it works or does not work, it must exist in both states. Unless I'm just a big old idiot, and I am a big old idiot. I have no illusions about that. But in this case, maybe I'm even a bigger idiot than usual and I just can't understand the point of all this? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what if it didn't need ISPs? If it created some kind of mesh network?
Yes, that's the point. But how are you just going to create a parallel internet to do that?
I don't know. I mean, when I read this, the first surprise I had was that the guy who made this wasn't named Richard Hendricks, because this is something that comes straight from the show Silicon Valley. I mean, this is the exact same thing they're building. But yeah, I mean, this is cool. There is a preview available right now, and they are planning to release it like in a few months. But this, it's the same thing. I don't get all the details what they're trying to make. Yeah, I mean, it would be really interesting if you could get a whole network infrastructure, but that doesn't. It's not just. You can't build that with just
I think what they're trying to throw together, currently when they say developer preview release of a plugin's available, even they say we're quite a bit off from our own standalone browser. But what is this designed to do? Well, it's designed to basically give users seamless browsing experiences because it's going to grant you access to websites via single identity login, unlike profiles on, your traditional password login, stuff like that. You'll actually own this, and, they're going to be adding apps and stuff like that. This is an interesting project if it can get adoption, hashtag Mastodon, right? Things don't exactly work out when they're decentralized. Love the idea of decentralization. However, huge fan of things working too. So kind of right in the middle. But very excited because we're on the road to Xfce 4.14 Part 2. More than a year since my last blog. But yeah, you're reading Xfce news here. Wow. So what has been going down? A couple of things. GTK3, all the things. That's the big push to this. And yes, I know 4.13 is not an official release, but you can currently download and play with it. Almost all of the core components now have the GTK plus 3 version. Thunar is in need of help. All this business will be in the show notes. Go check out there. They're asking for some help with that particular project, the file manager, if you're new to this. And if you want to test the current state of 4.14, you can look at the Xfce test on GitHub. It's a Docker image. Check the notes again. And there's no current ETA for it because it's Xfce, but it's still a better love story than Enlightenment.
I mean, now that they're about to finish their port for GTK3, well, good news, because you're going to have to port everything to GTK4 now.
Oh no, Strider, are you trying to tell me that by the time GTK3 is all nice and stable, it'll work on it? Oh, might as well throw it away.
I mean, it's nice and stable now, so it's dead. Might as well just drop it.
Yeah, I mean, no, the thing is, we talked about the GTK versions a while back, and GTK4 will be basically GTK3, what it is right now, but even more stable, and it will stay that way. And they will have like this GTK5, which will be experimental, and then go to GTK6, which will be another stable API. I think this is the new versioning scheme.
Yeah, definitely sit back. If you haven't played with Xfce, go do it. It's been getting the business done since 1996, and it's great at it. But if you're terrified that a stable, clean desktop manager would increase your productivity to such a level that it might anger and confuse you, you can always try KDE.
Yes, you can, because KDE 5.10 has been released. It was released, in fact, on Tuesday, May the 30th. Yesterday, at the time of recording. So they released a bunch of new things with 5.10. The panel task manager, they improved a lot of the functionality in there. Folder view is now the default desktop setting. It used to be the blank desktop, but now you actually get the full-on folder preview. like most other desktop environments work. And you can actually watch the video, which is narrated by Chris Fisher from Jupiter Broadcasting. Yeah. And there's a couple of new stuff here and there. They improved touchscreen support, and they're working on Wayland as
just looking at this video, it's going to be really useful to hide your naughty files, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And you also get a chance to customize your Plymouth Bash, your Plymouth boot splash. Come on, you can do it, brain. Plymouth boot splash screen. Which you get it's that thing you see after the kernel loads before you get to the desktop manager to put in your password. You can customize that for some reason, and a couple of other stuff. You can go to the links. There'll be links in the show notes as usual. Now, I was actually running a bit of a Franken desktop environment, which involved parts of Mate and parts of KDE. I was using the Mate panel and the desktop itself, but I was using Dolphin as the file manager, and I was using Kwin as the window manager. I wasn't using Kwin's compositing, because Kwin's compositing, seriously, you need to fix that. That's just bad. I was using Compton instead, because it works. So I did the updates, I logged out of my session, I logged back in, and Kwin just will not, for the life of it, render any window borders or window titles, anything. You just get the window contents, nothing else. Good times. So I kill it. I started from the command line, and I look at the errors, and it just keeps spitting out errors just nonstop until you finally kill it for good. Now, I am very stubborn. I know that KDE 5 from the get-go was a broken mess. They did that with KDE 4.
How dare you, Pedro? KDE 5 was a beautiful piece of wholly functioning software that never had 80 bugs because,
yeah. They did the exact same thing with KDE 4, but right around the time that KDE 4.9 came out, it was actually a pretty good desktop environment. It was genuinely good. It was stable, basic functionality, even between different point versions, was just on point, no issues whatsoever. Now, this time around, I have the KDE Neon repo enabled in this system. That's how I was getting the new updates and everything else. And it forked my session because some of the packages which the new version of Kwin relies on just were not getting updated. Why weren't they getting updated? Because they were linked against a specific version of libqt5 core 5a. Yeah, the core qt5 lib. Apparently, they linked it specifically against version 5.6.1, and even though I have version 5.7.1, it still refuses to install those specific packages. So we have a bit of a version mismatch here, and I don't know whether to blame KDE or Ubuntu or the Neon folks. I honestly don't know, but fact of the matter is, I've never had as many issues with version mismatching on Fedora than I do in Ubuntu.
Yeah, but have you seen your setup? I mean, it's no surprise that everything breaks. Like, you have like Mate with Compton, with KDE, all of this with PPAs enabled. Like,
and it was working just fine until this particular update.
Until it breaks, yes.
Isn't this brilliant? Strider's finally getting a dose of Pedro saying, it works for me.
It worked for me. That's the thing.
Until it breaks. So there are ISOs of KDE Neon you can install and use, and they're supposed to be stable because they're not like hacked together and put this.
Yeah, they are based on 1604 with the KDE Neon repo enabled. Hey, what distro am I running again? Oh, that's right. Ubuntu 1604 with the KDE Neon. And also, it just won't update.
KDE Neon is still a very experimental.
And there goes the field goal.
I mean, it's not. This is the point. This is not a real distribution. It's something to test KDE, but soon enough, KDE Plasma 5.10 will be arriving in actual distributions where there will be testing, where things will be correctly packaged and linked with the correct dependencies. This is the thing you want to use, because that's the job of distro maintainers. The distro maintainers, they make
what I got out of
all
that?
these things work.
Strider. Strider, you know what I got out of your spiel there? KDE Neon is not a real distro.
It's a testing thing. Yeah. It's kind of a real distro, but I mean, it's more like, it's a testing grounds for the latest Plasma. It's not a real distro.
That's a thing, man. I mean, then again, it's KDE, where developers like to play UX designers. They're not. I don't know. I would never. It's a phase, man. I've been there. So save the hate mail. I mean, go ahead and send it. We'll read it anyway. That what I'm about to say, because I went through the phase of let's make everything pretty, let's make everything shiny. Then I had to start doing actual work, and I couldn't dedicate 10% or even 3% of my time to, oh man, my whiz bang whatever pretty's broken, I need to go fix that. And at this point, being old and cantankerous and telling people to get off my beautiful lawn, does anyone genuinely think that Linux adoption is low because it's simply not pretty enough? ?
Admittedly, some people do, depending on what subreddit you go to.
No, and that can't be the case, because I mean, GNOME and its variant like Budgie or Elementary and KDE are by far the best looking desktops you can find. I mean, OS X is all right. Microsoft has done some progress with Windows 10. It's okay to look at, but it can't beat the actual Linux desktop from 2017. I mean, this is the ultimate desktops we have right now is on Linux. You can't. Yeah, I mean, OS X and Windows, they look meh compared to Linux.
That's the thing, and Strider, somewhere out there's an Amiga user particularly cross with you right now. Hey, Pedro, we don't take ads on this show, and it's completely user-funded. Just how in the gosh darn heck did we pay for it?
Yeah, I know. How do you pay for it? I mean, let's face it, it mostly comes out of Ven's pocket. But we're slowly but surely, with your support, making our way to being completely self-funded. It's very, very close. If you go to linuxgamecast.com and you hit the support button, you can see all of the different things on all the different ways you can support us. There's Patreon there. That's patreon.com/LinuxGamecast. You also have Amazon affiliate links, an Amazon wish list if you don't want to just send money our way and you want to buy us something more tangible. There's PayPal Donato buttons and a QR code you can scan for the magical internet monies. Now, if you do subscribe into the whole Patreon thing, we would very much appreciate it if you do, because that's where the bulk of our monies comes from, so we can keep on paying for the hosting and everything else. You can join 107 awesome people that are currently kicking us 187 wet sticky caches a week, and just get a lot of more content in return.
And we got a ton of content. We have an extra, we do an extra show. It's not a show at all. That's why we call it a pre-pre.
It's completely unfiltered.
We don't even call it a regular show. We call it a super show because it's so much not a show. It's a straight-up creep fest of conversation. It's basically an hour long before we get ready to do the big show on Saturdays. It's kind of fun, entertaining. J-Baby and myself, we do a Mystery Science Theater riff tracks for each episode of Doctor Who. That's definitely there. You get show note access if you want some of that business at a certain level. Access to our Discord chat, that's a thing. Check that out. Boom. Hanging in your face. But those Amazon affiliate links, you shopping through those, man? Whoever's been doing that, actually, I know several of you beautiful party people have been doing that. That's starting to add up. That's brilliant. Doesn't cost you a thing. You're going to buy stuff anyway. We get a little bit of that taste. But, Pedro, we got a new thing, man.
Actually, we got many new people. Well, one new person who subscribed to our Patreon, Mr. Amish. I thought you weren't allowed on the internet.
Mr. Okay. Amish, yeah. Local hoster, he's back. He's returning as a Patreon. And through PayPal.
We have Joseph. Through PayPal, yes. And Mr. Michael Gwenzel, I probably butchered your last name there. Sorry. He actually used the Amazon links. Thank you. Thank you very much.
What he did is he used a wish list. Yeah.
He used the wish list.
That's the thing. That's why I look a bit different, because we got a C920 Pro, which we're going to be using for this new studio, this mythical beast we're slowly piecing together with your help, because it's not really our style to be like do an Indiegogo or a GoFundMe. You know us, not like trying to even chill our own stuff. We're not very good at it. We don't feel right. That's why you got to just do it. Like 4 years later, we finally put up the wish list. But, hi. There's the new camera. It's brilliant. We're going to use that for a very much wider shot. But I was thinking of putting a little bit of not necessarily a leaderboard, but a recognition board up in the new studio. And we prototyped it out on the Saturday show for all the new fine, upstanding cannibals. Don't read that too fast because it's abbreviated. We had to fit it all. Yeah, it's the FUC wall. We have Bradley. Bradley threw down the hum thing. Jill and Steve with the lighting, which I've actively blinded myself a million times with an axe, and it's brilliant. I love you lot. Maddie with a Mad High power supply. Erod 20 for the scaffolding behind me, which is going to be used in the new studio. And McLG for the camera. It is brilliant. Thank you all very, very much.
But, all that... I don't want to say that word, that what I usually use on Saturdays, but let's just say it's made me hungry.
A bit peckish.
So let's get into the slice of pie.
Yeah. And we're going to start with a piece of opinion by James Bruce on makeuseof.com. And he's telling something that I've been saying several times over the weeks, which is don't use a Raspberry Pi for all your projects. And yeah, I get it. And Raspberry Pis are cheap. Raspberry Pis are easy to use. But I mean, it's also a powerful machine. So what he's saying here is if your project consists of just blinking LEDs or controlling a motor, things like that, you could use a simpler setup than use a full-blown Raspberry Pi. And yeah, I mean, I do agree with a lot of things he says. I also disagree with some of his opinion because he's obviously not a Linux user. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, the Raspberry Pi is still a great machine. Just if you're going to use it for its to its full extent.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's a point in there somewhere, man. You buy a Pi. Why do you buy a Pi? I'll tell you why you buy a Raspberry Pi. You buy it because of the ecosystem. Everything's there. Yep. It's already been done. Everything you think you just came up with. Nope, 6 other people did it 4 years ago. It's kind of brilliant. There's also the Pi Zero. If you only want to drop, a copper, £5, something like that, you can do that business. It's a great device for beginners. You can take all of the monkey see, monkey do approaches. It's great for kids and students. The resources are there and they're available. I'm not a Pi zealot by any means. I cut my teeth with the Arduinos. Yeah, he's got some points. I mean, I completely say 99% of the projects that we see using a Pi, it's overkill. I need to make a LED blink. Oh, okay, let's get a Pi. It's like, but then part of me, Pedro, very much appreciates overkill.
Yeah, and let's face it, the Raspberry Pi is the Ubuntu of prototype board. Morty. It's the Ubuntu of prototype boards. There's a bunch of people using it. There's a bunch of people developing for it. There's a bunch of people supporting it. So when your choice is something between, something as much as with as much support as the Raspberry Pi for so many different skill levels, whether you're a beginner or an advanced user, or anything else where the only support you get is an obscure subforum on a website that's barely maintained and everyone in there speaks with a completely impenetrable lingo, well, honestly, I know what I'd pick.
Hey, man, the Raspberry Pi is a different device. I mean, it came on it. It's not a project board. It's a full-blown PC is what it is. And it's wicked cheap for what it is. But, Strider, go speaking of people with impenetrable languages, go ahead.
you have the option of using an Arduino, which is not an obscure device. I mean, it's really widespread too.
Mhm.
It's even cheaper than a Raspberry Pi, and it will do all your LED blinking and motor control and all that kind of stuff.
But you see, the problem is you actually would have to learn to develop code, and you can't install it on Windows and click next 4 times and have a working project and be a lead hacker, man.
True.
Okay,
You have to
tell me about this in 30 seconds or less.
So the Raspberry Pi is merging with a CoderDojo, which is like an initiative that will teach children to code. And yeah, I mean, this is something that will happen in the next few months. It kind of reminds me of the OLPC initiative that was launched a few years ago. It's great. I mean, it's something that's for the education of kids, teaching them how to code with Raspberry Pi. So nothing but good stuff here.
That's brilliant. That's always good to see, furthering that. And it kind of gives me the sad, back again to old man Ben, just like the nightmare stuff I could have came up with if we'd had this technology when we were kids. We would be either incredibly famous and or incarcerated. Okay.
Maybe both.
Well, why not both, right? Live stream, YouTube, do your Raspberry Pi, and Docker. Yeah, man, 4 steps. You throw this business together, you have a live YouTube stream. And anyone who has built FFmpeg on a Pi, kind of been looking for something like this. And a couple extra steps. You can get audio working. This is just your basic video cam up and going. You want to make a surveillance device, or you just want to be, this is cool. Yeah, you'll need a YouTube account. But you can make this basically work with anything that'll take ingestion stream. Not a big issue. There's even a thing in here for video effects. So the only downside is Docker. I don't know why I don't necessarily like Docker, but why don't I necessarily like Docker, Strider?
Because it makes things easy, and you don't like things to be easy, I guess.
That could possibly have something to do with it.
Could be, yeah. Honestly, this is just a really, really awesome thing, and it beats having to compile FFmpeg on a Pi Zero, which takes a while, like 9 hours, according to the author of this post.
Yeah, but you're building for a single machine, which is the Pi. You could just be distributing the binary directly without Docker.
Yeah, you can just distribute that FFmpeg binary.
Yeah, and when you get hit with that lawsuit, you let us know how it goes.
I mean, hey, this is the same thing. He is distributing FFmpeg. It's in a container, but it's still a binary.
And if Docker paid for the distributing license, sure. They have money for it.
Do you know that
Docker
for a
is not an
fact?
entity.
Do you know that for a fact?
Yeah, because you can't. It's not Docker. Docker is not an entity. Well, yes, it is.
First, KDE is not a real distro, and Docker is not an entity.
It's just one dude that built this Docker image, and this dude hasn't paid FFmpeg for the loyalties and all that.
Do you know that for a fact, Strider?
I would be willing to bet on this. Yes.
Okay, then person who did that, let us know in the feedback.
I'll probably send him an email just to clear this up. And Strider, you would make a horrible Sith. You don't know how to deal in absolute if it would save your life.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, we like talking to you. You can talk back to us. That's why you go over to Linux Gamecast. What? Linux Gamecast? This show's called Linux Weekly Day. Yeah, all right. This show came from a Patreon goal, which is why we've been doing for almost 70 weeks straight. But don't fret. We have a little drop-down menu. Just select the right show, LWDW, right there. Give us a name, email, subject, message. Do a little bit of math. Pretty simple math. It's almost the answer to everything, some might say. If you have questions, ideas, thoughts, hints, allegations, show ideas, relationship advice, you name it, we'll come back to you. But did anybody write us this week? Did we get anyone?
Well, we did have the one. It was Josh left us a comment on YouTube, and he says, the only thing I can think of which needs to be improved in the GNOME Software Center is that the app installation process...
Why are we talking about the GNOME Software Center? I didn't watch last week's episode.
Precisely. If you had watched last week's episode, you would have known that at one point we were discussing the whole App Store thing when the elementary guys pushed out their new App Center with all of the new functionality and the pay what you want and the third-party support. Then the conversation kind of went slightly astray with the Mate Software Boutique and the GNOME Software Center. And this is specifically about the GNOME Software Center because, according to Josh, it really should be one step. Either that or the install button shouldn't say install during the whole process. It's frustratingly misleading. It should at least say downloading. When it's downloading, change to install once the download finishes, change to installing when it's installing the app, and then change one last time to installed once the app is installed. But for efficiency, you just can't beat Synaptic. And Josh, what you're saying is, well, it just sounds like common sense. It sounds perfectly agreeable, which is exactly why the GNOME people will never do that.
No, this seems to make sense, and this seems to be a very simple fix. So, yeah.
Which is exactly why the GNOME people will never do it, because they don't care what users want.
I use GNOME, and
I know you do. That was kind of the whole point of that spiel.
Yeah, what they deliver is exactly what I want. I can customize it well enough that it fits my needs. And yeah, I'm okay with GNOME. But yeah, Synaptic, I wouldn't say its main purpose is efficiency.
Just kind of like what Norland just said, GNOME does not suffer from common sense.
No.
No, but back to Synaptic. I wouldn't say it's efficient, but it's really great for complex package management. So I don't use it a lot.
Would you say it makes complex package management simple?
Yes, it does.
Okay, then that is the literal definition of efficient.
No, because it's kind of slow, and most of the time I don't use it. I will either use GNOME software or use the command line. The command line is efficient, but when I need to do something complex, really.
See, you can't argue with semantics. You can't argue semantics with Strider because he's very literal.
Children, calm your memories, because one of the guys I worked for years ago, I was doing system solution providing, and he called me. Yeah, he's, you know exactly what you are, Stone. And I said, oh boy, who told you? Fortunately, it wasn't about that, but he said, you're particularly lazy with this incredible work ethic. So when those two things collide, you become efficient. It's like, if I want something done right, in the quickest, most efficient way possible, I put you on it. That's why you're being sent everywhere. That's your personal definition of efficiency from your friendly neighborhood Vinstone. But ladies and gentlemen, we are way over time. We got to get out of here. It's going to be brilliant. Vinstone, you can always find me at Vinstone on the Twitter nets and all that business. Check us out. We'll be doing a live stream tomorrow. No idea what, but it will be terrifying. Big show Saturday, as always. That's our gaming thing. It's a 4-hour nightmare train. Come join us for that if you want to come check it out.
Indeed, and I do hope you watched yesterday's stream. That was the end of Sultan Sanctuary. Next Tuesday, there will be something else, but make sure to tune in on Saturday, where you will see me as well. Yes, Pedro Mateos, at Unaccounted For on Twitter, or plus Pedro Mateos on Google+.
Yeah, I should be releasing another show as well. Maybe Friday, I think.
Are you going to wear the short shorts?
Yeah, other than that, you can find me at Striker on Twitter or plus Matter Commando on Google+. And you can
Strider
always
and
check
Daisy
out
Dukes.
patreon.com/Lutris if you like my projects.
I think, come on, Strider short shorts, baby. I hear they're coming back. They'll be brilliant. Lutris.net. Project lives. Just got an update. Go check it out. It'll let you play all your old games. It's a lot simpler than reading all through the paragraphs of the people who don't know really what they're talking about, trying to explain Linux because they're Winbros. Do yourself a favor, check that out, but we'll be back next week. It's been brilliant. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Come on, you can do it. There we go. Oh, oh, look at the wave, at the potato wave.
The queen wave.
The queen wave? Where in the heck's a queen wave?
You know, the one where you just keep your hand, all your fingers in your hand together, and you just rotate your hand around your wrist.
I'm thinking band. Like Freddie Mercury. What? Got queen.
Barcelona! No, not that queen.
The other one.
The actual English queen, supposedly.
Oh, okay. Still technically the show. We can get some feedback off that. So we're running the credits right now.